In this video, I'm going to take you through my initial first thought reaction and 5 top tips to help you prepare for your ACCA SBL exam for the September 2024 sitting. My name is James, welcome to my channel. Make sure you subscribe because if you've got this exam, I'm going to be doing plenty of videos that is going to help you to pick up on those extra marks, taking you through my exclusive SBL notes. And if you'd like access to those, just click the link down in the description of this video and you'll be able to get a copy yourself. I'm also delighted to let you know I am associated and affiliated with Astranti, where you can actually get a guarantee pass and guarantee money back on any mock exams, pre-scene materials, and they also have a pre-scene pack that's completely free. Again, links are down in the description, and for pure transparency on the channel, as always, I'm affiliated with them, so if you were to purchase anything through those links, I'd be entitled to a small percentage which goes to supporting the channel. And as always, a massive thank you for all the likes, subscribing. If you've got any actual comments, just leave them down below, I'd be happy to help. And before we get kicked off, Edgy, I know you're out there, mate. Thank you so much for the message. You've got this. You're going to pass. I know it's a difficult one getting that resit mark in. Oh, gosh, 47, I think it was. But this is dedicated to you, my friend, because tip number 1 to help you ahead of your September exam is the industry itself. Now, this is where for your notes, and again, if you're following them through, if you've downloaded the PDF yourself, we are looking at what they call a TNC. Transport Network Company. And for your notes, the case study is based on basically Uber if you're based in the UK, or maybe if you're watching this in Asia, it's the same principle but using the company Grab. And it's really critical that you understand how it operationally works, because that is going to be the devil in the detail. That you need to understand it's an app-based system, just like if you've used Uber or Grab before. And if you're on page 5, it tells you about the process for hailing down an actual cab, a ride on there, or if you're actually going to share the actual ride. So you'd, as you would do in real life, you'd get your phone out, you'd log into the app, you'd say where you are, you'd say where you want to go, see if there's a driver near, confirm the actual order, they'd pick you up, they drop you at your destination, and there you go from there. So that's the first thing in terms of actually understanding the industry itself. We're dealing with cars. There are different revenue streams, which we'll come on to later onto this video for you to take down. But the key thing for your note on here as a sort of overview are the names of the companies who are transport network companies themselves. So Beago, you'll see in my notes, is in purple on there. That is the company, what it's actually based on, that we're going to be given the requirements about. But it's Zenbi, Z-E-N-B-I, is the main competitor to Beago on there. Now, Beago is only based in Beeland, the country, and, 200 million population on there. But Zenbi, key thing for your notes, where I think people will make mistakes, is internationally recognised. So operates in Beeland and a variety of other countries around the world. So understanding that industry itself, key thing to understand the model. It's based on Uber, based on Grab, and that you understand how it operationally works. So that is my tip number 1 from my initial reaction. You've got to know how it works, how customers pay, the drivers, and the whole process on there. If you've used Grab, if you've used Uber, you're laughing. It's not like the other pre-scene notes about football finance and vets on there. Number 2 now is the Beago company itself. So Beago is the company that you will be basing your answers on. And there's some great little notes on here, just sort of breaking it down as to a nice little overview. And next key tip for your notes to get down is Ed Foss and Kim Lee were the original founders. It's 12 years old, so it's a mature company, it's well established on there. But the key thing, do not make this mistake in your exam, is that it is just based in Beeland. That is where it was set up, that is where it's currently managed, and it operates within 250 cities on there. So again, it's actually, if we look at it from a perspective of growth, we're given some actual tables on here. You can see that registered and active users on the right hand side is increasing. The number of cities where Beago operates is only going up as well. And if we come up back up to the top in terms of a few more areas, you can see on the left-hand side now, we've got the market share. You can see there the dark line is Zemby, the main competitor, is dropping off. And Beago is that sort of lighter shade of grey, is just slowly increasing on there. So it's really positive, and the actual user growth in Beeland is only going one way. It is on a positive trajectory, but we don't know what we could be given on the exam day as to, is it potentially tailing off? We could have a potentially saturated market. Again, things for you to consider just to keep you on your toes that they could throw in there. Coming back down just to some final points on Beago and for Ed and Kim, Ed and Kim are down to actually having a 10% shareholding now within the company. It's listed on there, so that increases the amount of logistics and areas that they need to actually comply with, because it's a large publicly listed company. But the key thing on your notes, you can see there in the last paragraph under the overview, Beago grew rapidly. By the end of 2003, it had 16 million active users on there. It's predicted to rise to 90 million by the end of 2004. So I've put that on the diagram so that you can see it. Again, it's just on the top right up there. That's the 90 million. It's only been on a positive trajectory, especially when it became listed 5 years ago. So that's tip number 2 on there, the Beago company themselves. Tip number 3 from the initial reaction, which I went, that could come up in a few areas, are the services that are provided by Beago and the companies which operate in the industry itself. So the first thing for your notes on there is that diagram, that little pie chart, to say that the ride hailing, this is where, again, practically speaking, if you've got your phone out, you would simply put in where you are, put in where you want to go to, and it's basically just you in the vehicle on there. Whereas the ride sharing, it's operationally does what it says on the tin. You would say where you are, and if there's a cab or a driver going in the direction with someone else, you can share the ride on there. But the customer preferences are that they just want the car themselves. That's it. It's for their pure convenience. There are, and this is the other thing in terms of the revenue streams, other alternatives in the country of Beeland, in the different cities, as you would expect. There are trains, there are buses, but there are other competitors and other revenue streams on there. Now this point here is just on the revenue streams. They've nicely broken them down for you so you can actually go through. And if we look on the left hand side now, we've got the service ride sharing, we've got the micro mobility. So if you're from the UK, they're your Boris bikes. In other words, it's bikes that you can sort of rent, pick up from one station, and then they go to you ride it and drop it off at another. But the interesting thing on here, coming back to the notes, are that there are also customers that want rental cars, there are business services, and you can see from my notes that actually Beago doesn't actually have any rental car income. And we're also given, this is why I think it's a really interesting topic area for the initial thoughts on there, look at the latest developments that, like Uber, developed into Uber Eats on there. The latest developments for other revenue streams that Beago and the competitors like Zemby and others could benefit from, you've got food delivery, driverless or autonomous cars on there, electric vehicles. There are a lot of variables and opportunities on there for a potential SWOT analysis that you could be asked to look at in your examination. So that's number 3, the revenue streams and how the businesses operate. Number 4, in my initial reaction, to paint a better picture for you as to what's going on in this industry, how are Beago actually getting on, are the key performance indicators. Really, really interesting on here. You can see it on the left-hand side. I've put my sort of ticks and crosses. Are they in a better or worse position? And the key one for your notes is the driver satisfaction on there, because it's been dropping over the last 5 years from a 70% satisfaction down to 60%. But overall, we're actually in a not bad position for Beago, as you would expect with that number of registered customers, the number of cities they operate in. The only one to note down, I'm going to come on to the graphs in a second, is the number of active drivers on there. And this is where We're given the actual number of active customers, but we don't have a graph for the active drivers. So again, possibly something on the exam day that they may throw in just to be aware of. And if I come down to the bottom, this is where for your notes, so you don't get confused, the KPIs that we've just touched on there and identified, they've provided in the pre-seen materials some nice little graphs and diagrams on here. As you can see, revenue nicely increasing, active customers increasing. Don't get too worried about the, you can't really pick out the exact figures. So something on the lines of saying in 2003, you can see in my notes that Beago had over 50 million active users. Something like that to show that you've identified the figure and referred to the pre-seen notes in your answers on there. The key one down at the bottom, the Net Promoter Score, is really interesting. As you can see that the industry average has been dropping down, and this is all about customer satisfaction, loyalty ratings. But for some reason, 2002 and then jumping to 2003, the industry average went down, but for Beago, it actually bounced back and is on an increase. So that is a real positive, that it's gone from 37 to 38, whereas the industry average has gone down to 36. Only a small little thing, but again, it's those little details that if you were to include it in the correct requirement on your exam day, the market is only going to love you for it on there. So again, if you've got the notes, you can go through it in a bit more detail. You can see my points on there about the revenue diversification, the no service customers for it, but a positive increase in the number of rides. And the only negative was the driver satisfaction. But still, 60% satisfied, but it's gone down from 70. We might get a bit more detail on there. But finally, it could link into, they've hinted at it in other areas of the pre-seen notes, about trade unions, ethical areas. The driver satisfaction could come into it. So that's tip number 4, KPIs on there, painting a picture for the pre-seen notes. And tip number 5, for my initial sort of reaction thoughts, are areas that just will be on your exam. So this is really key for you to get down as to theories, ethics, professional skills. Make sure you've got down those ethics, code of ethics you can see on the left there, integrity, objectivity, professional behaviour, competence and due care, and confidentiality. Make sure you apply those terms when it comes to your examination. There will be areas, and it looks like, if I was having a punt, it would be something on the lines of the data side of using an app, because you've got the driver's data, you've got the customer's data on there. There could be possible issues with the drivers. So again, ethics will feature somewhere on your exam, but be specific and apply those key areas and terms. In terms of the theories now, key areas that you need to be aware of, pest analysis on there, analysis is one area that is highly likely. As you go through the notes, just check out the GPS software on the left there, a technology factor with the actual quality, retaining customer information. And I've just given a little brief overview. Porter's 5 forces, SWOT analysis. Again, there are lots of different areas about the strengths, weaknesses, lots of threats involving multinational companies. It's a growing market on there. If you follow through the notes and watch the other videos on the channel, I'll go into a lot more detail, but one of those 3 theories I think has got a very good chance of being tested on your exam. I don't have a crystal ball just to verify for the video, but it's just as you read it through and you go into the detail, you think there's so much to talk about here. And last but by no means least, please do not underestimate the professional skills. I've got a little overview up at the top here just to sort of break it down, that lots of students sort of overlook this, the analysis, commercial acumen, communication, evaluation and skepticism. The 2 for your notes that the examiner always says that students do not go into enough detail is the commercial acumen, referring to that type of industry that we talked about as your first tip. So being specific to the company names, how it operates, the cars, the drivers, the customers on there, the revenue streams, so important. Rather than you saying it or they, you have to be specific to pass your exam. And point number 5 on there, the skepticism. So questioning the requirement, challenging what has been said. Those are extremely good marks to pick up on, but so many students that you do well on the analysis and communication evaluation, you balance your arguments, but those are the two key areas. Again, I think there's a lot to challenge on here from a communication point of view. They've talked about internal and external stakeholders. And I think if you follow these sort of initial thought reaction tips, along with the notes, you've got a very good chance of being well prepared for the exam day, no matter what they could throw at you on there. But that, ladies and gentlemen, takes us through those 5 key top tips and initial thought reactions. If you found the video helpful, make sure you give it a like on there. And as always, click the links down below to those Stratty mock papers. You can actually download these notes as well. And leave me a comment, edgy as well, what you thought of the video. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on all the other videos. And I've put some more SBL videos up above me. Check those out. And I'll see you on the other side now for another video. So thank you very much.